Welcome to Long Live Baseball. Tonight on the program, the Cardinals are hot, baby. Woo! Here we come. We're coming in, baby.
You know, that's the same thing I said tonight
Woo-hoo!
when Mookie Betts hit his 3-run homer. Woo! I was like, woo! I did the same thing you just did.
Mookie Betts is going to hit home runs sometimes. The Dodgers are the best team in the NL for a reason. Lo and behold, who said that? Like who said that at the beginning of the year? What other outlet was saying, "Oh, you know what? You know who's going to win? All these other people, MLB, ESPN, Fox, blah 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 blah, experts in quotation marks. The Dodgers are not going to be any good. Guess what? The Dodgers are good. And guess who else is good? The St. Louis Cardinals."
Wait a minute. Somebody has certainly changed their tune from just a week ago. And yes, the Cardinals are definitely making a run. In fact, as I was leaving work tonight, I said to some guy sitting at his desk, because he's a Cardinals fan and he was sitting there, and I said, "Hey, you know what? This week could be," I said, "I was hoping to make it out of the school year without the Cardinals catching us, but it could happen this weekend." And lo and behold, the Cubs beat the Philadelphia Phillies 10-1 tonight. Nico Hoerner in his huge return, 4 RBIs, I believe, 2 doubles. I don't know, other stuff. I don't have the stats in front of me, but thank you. Nico is back. He is the spark plug to the engine that is the Chicago Cubs this year. We missed him terribly. I think we lost like 6 in a row. It was starting to get a little painful. I mean, it really was. And Nico's back, and Yan Gomes is back, and Eric Hosmer's been DFA'd, and Matt Mervis is playing, and Christopher Morel hit a home run tonight, and so all of a sudden I'm kind of re-energized. I'm re-energized. I'm ready. The Cubs are playing baseball again.
It's crazy. The Cubs are 3-7 in their last 10, but the Cardinals have won all these games, and they're playing in the Central Division, and they dug themselves such a hole that they're still in last place in the division. Yet every Cardinals fan is like, "Here we come, baby! Yeah, So we're still, they still have a ways to go here, and we'll talk about it as we get into the episode. But this core, I mean, people were saying that Nolan Gorman was a trade piece before the season started, and that guy looks like the cornerstone of the franchise, the future cornerstone of the franchise. I mean, he's been unbelievable. He's hitting third, sandwiched in between Goldschmidt and Arenado tonight. Yeah. I mean, the dude's been incredible. You can't, and this was the guy that the Cardinals, and we could talk their roster construction until we're blue in the face. This was the guy that they were sitting because Wilson Contreras had to be the DH, right? This is why the whole Wilson Contreras thing was a fiasco. And guess what? Wilson Contreras is back in the DH spot tonight, but not for long, because 9 days after, Wilson Contreras has a problem. He can't, he's not calling good pitches, blah, blah, blah. Guess what, Mike? Guess what happened?
Wilson Contreras is catching again.
This is the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Isn't it something?
It's almost like the Cardinals front office is poorly run.
You think so?
I mean, what are we doing? Like, I get it. Like, a lot of people are making excuses for him now. Like, I even heard, like, I think tongue in cheek, that Mozeliak galaxy brained the whole thing because they had Contreras go to DH, and then they all of a sudden started winning games, and like it rallied the team together, because how dare you blame Wilson Contreras for this? He's the least of our problems, and he certainly I almost tweeted I almost was a jerk last night, but I held up. I almost said thank you Chicago for Wilson Contreras, because Wilson Contreras, what energy he brings to, I mean, he's not Yadier Molina, and I would never compare him to Yadier Molina, but the energy is similar with the player. The play style is similar. Like, he brings some fire, man. Like he plays like his emotions are on his sleeve. And he got a curtain call last night after he hit his second home run. And I can just tell he's fitting in just fine. He's fitting in just fine. Yeah. And you look at this Cardinals order now with Gorman in there. It goes Goldschmidt, Gorman, Arenado, Contreras, Nootbaar. Nootbaar leads off. We found our leadoff hitter, Lars Nootbaar. And he's who
by the way is 0 for 4 tonight in the leadoff position.
Yes.
So,
so a lot of people in the lineup tonight are 0 for, which we'll talk about, which may be why the Cardinals are just going to be a streaky team and we're going to have to deal with it. But which bodes well if they make the postseason. However,
here's the, and I know what the answer to this question is. Before I even ask it. I mean, the answer to the question is that's baseball, right? But how is it that the St. Louis Cardinals, this team that is like I'm watching the last 4 or 5 games, and I'm like, oh my gosh, oh no, like. Home run, 3-run, home run. They have 2 hits tonight. Now, granted, it's the bottom of the 9th for them right now against the LA Dodgers. The Cardinals have had a few come from behind victories this year in this type of situation, right?
That score went final. It's 5-0.
Okay, it went final. So. Okay.
Woo! Okay. This is such a Cubs fan thing to do, but
no, I'm wooing over Chris Stratton. Thank you, Chris Stratton. I mean, seriously, I thought Mookie Betts, Steven Matz. I mean, seriously, like he's 0 for 4 with a 5.34 ERA or something. Certainly, Mookie Betts, who's leading off, is going to get a hit against Steven Matz, but he has to go through Matz, Palante, Hicks to get to Stratton to hit the home run to give me that. And maybe some of the listeners to our live show might not know why I'm so excited about that. It's because of MLB Play, the Beat the Streak game. Mookie Betts was my only pick tonight because what happened, I had another pick this morning. And for the life of me, can't remember who it was now because I'm so jacked about Betts hitting a 3-run home run. But they got moved down in the lineup from leadoff hitter to third in the lineup, and so I canceled them. And I honestly cannot for the life of me think. It was Byron Buxton for the Twins, who's been hitting well, and all of a sudden tonight they put him in the 3-hole. I don't. He's been leading off. I don't. How do those things happen? Like,
I don't
baseball's know. Fun, isn't it?
Well, you want to hear something crazy? Like, okay, last night's game, right? What are you drinking there? Is that Steel Reserve?
This episode of Long Live Baseball brought to you by Bremer Brewing Company in Waverly, Iowa.
Oh, dang! All right, good.
Yeah.
Man, I feel out of place. I don't have a beer, but
well, you said in the tweet you were like, grab a beer and join us for some good old fashioned get off my lawn baseball talk.
That's what we're best known for on this program. Yeah. But so let the get off my lawn. This is perfect. I have a perfect topic for you tonight.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay.
I'm ready.
You ready? So last night's game, Dodgers Cardinals. The Cardinals go up 9-2 in the 6th inning. Okay.
Right.
We know baseball at this point, right? we know that in baseball, the 6th inning might as well be the 4th inning, might as well be the 3rd inning. It doesn't matter. It ain't over till the fat lady sings. Guess what David Roberts, or Dave, does he go by Dave or David? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Dave. I call him Dave.
Okay, Dave Roberts starts pulling his starters, including his best player, Mookie Betts, in the 6th inning. In a 9-2 ball game.
Against the St. Louis Cardinals.
What are we doing? What are we doing? Guess what happens? Guess what happens? They come back. It's 9-8. Oh no! Mookie Betts is out of the game now. What? And guess what happens? You know, the Cardinals eventually pull away and win, but it's baseball. Why? In a 9-2, it's not like it's 16-2. Right? It's 9-2. Can you imagine? If I was a Dodgers fan, I'd be pissed. It's like we're waving the white flag in the 6th inning, down 7, when you know the Cardinals, I don't know, their pitching staff has been questionable at best. I mean, I'm sure I know they've been better lately, but they probably don't rank high in the ERA totals yet among National League pitchers. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? I mean, not that I was happy to see Mookie Betts go. I mean, when they took him out, I about stood up and cheered. I bet everybody in Busch Stadium was like, "Yeah, whoa, they're taking Mookie out, yeah!" Like, why? It goes back to the age-old thing. Why would you do something that is going to make the opposing team happy? I don't get it. Does Mookie Betts need some rest? 30, 40 games into the season? I mean, if I was... Whatever.
What is it, right? Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
And then,
do you think it has anything to do with the front office? I mean, are you suggesting that maybe... I don't know. What are you saying, Seth?
I'm saying I don't understand some of these big league managers. What I'm saying to you, I just like looking back at the Cardinals ended up winning the game. What could have been a football score, 16-8.
Yeah.
But they pinch it. Oh, they have Jason Hayward on their team, but that was the only player they took out was Mookie Betts. And to be honest with you, I don't know if he's dealing with a lingering injury or if they're just trying to manage him or what's going on. But they also left this Jackson in for 3 1/3 innings. They left him in probably trying to just manage their bullpen because I understand, according to the broadcasters last night, the Dodgers bullpen has been overworked. So perhaps they were just trying to waving the white flag to hopefully take 2 games, but I don't know, man. I just don't like that philosophy as a fan, as a player. Like, we're not out of this. This is baseball.
Now, come on, though. But you know what? Maybe Mookie didn't hustle to first because, listen, you've got the Dodgers scored 2 runs in the 1st inning. And then they go goose egg, goose egg, goose egg, goose egg into the 6th. Now, when was Betts pulled?
The 6th.
Okay. And they score 5 runs.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said about, well, if you guys aren't going to swing the bat and do what you should be doing because you're our starters, I'm going to put some other guys in there and give them a chance. And then those other guys step literally, figuratively, whatever you want to say, step up to the plate and make a ball game out of the thing, right? I mean, if not for a 7-run 8th inning by the Cardinals, the Dodgers actually had a fighting chance in that game, down 9-2, and it could be argued that the managerial decision by my friend Dave was a good one, I mean,
if you called pulling your starter out of a game or your star out of a game a good decision, it feels like waving the white flag in the 6th inning, which just fundamentally speaking, as a human being, I am adamantly opposed to.
Yeah, no, I understand that. 9-2, it's time to bring in the position player pitchers, but they can't do that anymore. So they've got to make other moves.
Oh, yeah. See, yeah, he can't do that. He probably wanted to do that. He probably was talking to his bench coach and saying, "Hey, maybe we can have Mookie pitch. Maybe we could do that. Maybe we could. I don't know who came in for him. Who came in? Trace Thompson. Maybe Trace Thompson or Jason Hayward can go out to the mound. Oh wait, that's not a rule anymore. Oh, we can't just punt the game in the 6th inning. Like,
Right.
here we go. There's
There's
my
the
white flag.
flag.
I'm waving
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
You didn't
It
say
scre-
pasty white flag. I thought it was
It screams. It goes against all the competitive nature that's in me. I don't. It's just. I'll never be for it. I can understand it from a managerial standpoint, I suppose, but it's right up there with, like, I don't know, putting your subs in too early, and then I don't know. It's just Major League Baseball. I've never.
Yeah.
Imagine if you were a Dodgers fan and you came to see, Mookie Betts, and then he's gone in the 6th inning. I guess you got to see him. It's better than him not playing at all. But
Yeah.
anyway, interesting managerial choices. Speaking of interesting managerial choices, how's your guy doing and your manager? Is he doing better?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of talk, right? I mean, there's just a lot of talk. There's a lot of there's a lot of angst about this, that, the other thing. The latest thing is the big loss to the Houston Astros, who I think we were leading 7-1. I think talk about those kind of games, and the Astros definitely did not wave the white flag, and so automatically, or in a situation like that, then all of a sudden everybody's pointing the finger at the managerial question, decision making in terms of the use of the bullpen and all of that kind of stuff. But ultimately, listen, guys they've got to perform. I mean, the guys that you have are the guys that you have. And so you can talk through all the, should he have put Brandon Hughes in? Should he have put, who should he have used, Merriweather? Or, we all know Leiter Jr. is our only closer. And, why doesn't David Ross know that? And all of that kind of stuff. But there is a lot more to it than just that, right? I mean, those guys have got to go. These guys are professionals. I mean, there's a reason they get paid multi-millions of dollars, because they're supposed to be the best of the best, right? And so I don't think you can really point a finger when you're leading 7-1 and you go to your bullpen and then the bullpen gives it up. It's not about the managerial decision making. It's about guys flat out performing. Like, you've got to go out there and you've got to close that game. You've got to finish that game. Is it frustrating as all get out? Yeah, absolutely. But you can't point the finger at David Ross. Has he lost us some games this year? I don't remember the exact stat. You'd probably look it up and find it real quick. But the Cubs are like 2-8 or 2-9 in 1-run games this year. And so those kinds of losses hurt, and you got to find a reason, right? And a lot of times that'll go to, it's the managers. It's the manager's fault. Obviously, he's making crucial in-game decisions that are leading to these losses. Well, no, it's when you're leading. When you're leading, I guess maybe it was 6-1. When you've got that lead and you go to your bullpen, and then your bullpen gives up 2 runs in the 8th and 4 in the 9th, and you lose 7-6. That's not about the managerial decision in that case, is it? Some people might argue it. I don't know. That there was I can't remember what game it was this year, Seth. I was watching the Cubs play, and I remember turning to my wife. We might have even talked about it on this show, and saying, certainly they're not going to pull out. Maybe it was Justin Steele. I think it was Justin Steele certainly they're not going to pull him out at 83 pitches in the 6th inning, are they? And I mean, he could complete this game, And no, he's out. He comes. That's the way. Here's a stat that I'd like to know. I think maybe we talked about one of these earlier this year too. How many complete games have been thrown this year in Major League Baseball? Complete games. I want to know the answer to that question. I'll bet you it is under. I bet you I can count them on one hand. I can. I just think that's. I get it. I get that these guys are $1 million arms and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't matter what you do. Sometimes you're not going to protect all that. You're not going to protect your assets in that regard with pitch counts and stuff like that. I mean, who was it? Castellanos. I don't remember who the Phillies were playing, but he hit one off the head of that pitcher. Did you see that play? I mean,
I did not.
Square to the temple. I mean, it was a scary moment in a game the other night when Nick Castellanos, and when he got, he ran down and, he was crouched down and visibly shook because he hit a comebacker right off the pitcher's temple, and I think the guy is okay, walked off with assistance, but, that's a good sign. But these pitch count things, I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling. But
yeah. But it's okay. I have the answer to one of your questions.
Yeah.
There have been, by my count, and that's assuming I can count right, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 complete games.
Wow, I was wrong.
Thrown this
okay.
year. But 10. You have to think though. You have to think that's 30 times whatever, 30 or 40. We're probably closer to 40 games, right?
Yeah, we're at 43 games.
So whatever 30 times 43 is,
right?
Can you do that math off the top of your head? I'll do it on air right now on a calculator that my teacher told me we would never have. We would never have a calculator in our pocket, but guess what? We do. 1,290 games. That's 1,290 games if everybody's played 43. So only 10 of those. And I'm assuming I don't have the numbers pulled up in front of me. That's probably something that's gone way down. I mean, clearly from the old days. But yeah, it's all about managing pitch counts and getting through the season healthy. I mean, that's kind of probably what led Dave Roberts to pull Mookie Betts. It's all about risk management, right?
Right.
That's a player you have a lot invested in, and these teams have a lot invested in these pitchers, and probably not as much invested in other pitchers, the bullpen guys. I mean, I wonder why the bullpen's getting used more. That's probably factors into it. And like Steven Matz tonight, I'll go ahead and change the subject. Steven Matz, he only gave up 1 run, but he gave up 6 hits in 4 1/3 innings. So that's somebody they're protecting right now too, with the Cardinals. And that's, to speak of the managerial side just for a second, that you're absolutely right. I mean, when the Cardinals were going through their deal, my criticism of Ollie Marmol was, listen, there's a way to respond in these scenarios. There's a way to respond. There's questions from the media that are out of bounds, and none of those questions from the media were out of bounds, and you just take it, and you answer it, and you deal with it, and you move on. And eventually, if your team's good enough, like they're performing well right now, even though they lost tonight, the good things are going to come because this team's talented and you play in a bad division. And good things are here. So it just felt in that moment that the Cardinals, I mean, probably because they haven't been there a ton, dealing with the criticism of the media and then the national media when the Wilson Contreras thing was raging, and it's still people are still kind of wondering what happened there. I mean, that was a bizarre thing that I don't know if we've talked too much about because the timing of this show just hasn't been good with us talking about Wilson Contreras because It literally, the DH decision was made, I think, the day after our show. And then we talked about, him being the DH. And then a few days later, after our next show, he's back as the catcher again. And It's so bizarre. So I think the manager can get scapegoated. The old expression, the manager gets too much credit when the team wins and too much credit when the team loses, too much blame when the team loses.
Right.
I think that's very true. But for the Cardinals, and I haven't heard any drama surrounding David Ross in his press conferences. It sounds like he's handling it. Yeah. I mean, as well as you can handle it professionally. And that was my criticism of the Cardinals to round out this point was Tyler O'Neill. Okay. That didn't seem like it was handled well. Okay. The losing streak and the pitching staff. Okay, that again, this is weird. Oh, now Wilson Contreras is not a catcher anymore. Like, what are we doing, Cardinals? And now they're winning, so winning cures all things. But they're still, to speak to the Cardinals and how they're constructed, it's still they have they are a very talented team. In my opinion, they're the most talented team in the NL Central. But they they are. Look at that lineup. You look at that lineup and who's not in the lineup. I mean, they still have Jordan Walker sitting down there in AAA.
Yeah.
Who's not in the lineup.
Yeah.
Tyler O'Neill's hurt. I don't know what Tyler O'Neill can give you, but it'd be a icing on top of the cake from what they're getting from their other guys. Right. Dylan Carlson's hurt. You have Oscar Mercado playing right now. Juan Yepez is up. Juan Yepez is, I feel like, you have so many guys who are blocked because you've got a log jam at the position. I mean, it just makes too much sense for the Cardinals to go out and fix their biggest problem. And there are problems on this roster. And their biggest problem...
What's the biggest problem?
We've been talking about it for 3 years. And this is why Mo needs to go. I'm sorry. I'm still on the Mo needs to go train. Is you need to solve, because this is a World Series contending team if you can get a legitimate starting pitcher at the top of the rotation. Easier said than done, but you've had 3 years to do it and you've not done it. You haven't done it. You've gone out and gotten some good pieces to solve the problem temporarily, like J.A. Happ and John Lester. That was fantastic. You went out and got Jordan Montgomery last year and Jose Quintana, don't forget, he was the ace. He was our starting pitcher in the first playoff game. And now I would presume it's Michaelis, I guess. Michaelis is pitching better like I thought he would, like I told everybody he would. Like, just calm down. Michaelis is probably the least of our concerns. I'd be much more worried about Steven Matz and Jake Woodford and some of these guys. And now, Matthew Liberatore's up, and they're going with that 6-man rotation, which we can talk about later, which that's a whole other thing. But the Cardinals have so many auxiliary pieces that they're not using, that are just going to waste on a win-now team down in AAA. I mean, Matthew Liberatore is down there forever. I don't understand. Now we have Jordan Walker down there. We're not going to trade Jordan Walker, but you still have players like Dylan Carlson and Tyler O'Neill. You still have players like Tink Hentz, Graceffo, and I know it's a risk, just like it was a risk when they made the Marcell Ozuna trade. But this is a win.
There it is.
Yeah,
Marcell Ozuna trade.
And if Mozeliak is worried about repeating the Marcell Ozuna trade, then he really needs to go. Because this is a win now team that needs a starting pitcher. It's still like Steven Matz is not cutting it. He went 4 1/3 tonight. I know he only gave up 1 run, but he gave up 6 hits in 4 1/3 inning. That's not working out. I'm sorry. I don't know what you do about him because he's still on the hook for another 3 years. But you got some nice pieces in this rotation. Montgomery's a nice piece. Liberatore, 1 start in, we'll see. I hope he can repeat. I hope he can keep it up. The fastball looks a lot sharper than it did last year, so that's good. Wainwright, God, what are we going to get from Wainwright? I don't know. again, these are all the questions we were talking about at the beginning of the year, and the Cardinals just continue to sit on their hands. Like, you need to package some of these players. You need to, you need to rinse out the pipes. You need to, because you're not going to be able to use all of them. Like, it makes too much sense. They're probably not going to do anything, and here we go again. Like, they're probably going to hope that Liberatore or Wainwright can turn into an ace again, or Jack Flaherty, who had his best outing in 3 years, struck out 10 guys the other night. Great for Jack, but he's been too inconsistent. I don't know if you can count on him to do that on a regular basis. I hope I'm wrong, but like I keep saying, and I feel like I'm a crazy person at this point, but I keep saying this team is an ace. Like, if you get an ace, like if you get a top of the line starting pitcher, or at least somebody you can rely upon, everything else just falls into place. It eases the strain on your bullpen. The bullpen's not being used as much. I mean, 4 1/3 tonight. Like you can't keep that up all season long. So it just solves so many of your problems.
Do you think? I mean, so many Cardinal things that you just said there. Like you guys, you do realize that you guys are only 6 games out of the division lead, right? I mean, and it's what, May 19th? I mean, because listen, our division is either it's ultra competitive or it's just really, really bad. But it's
bad. It's so bad.
But it's hard to say that when you talk about some of the talent that is on these teams. When you talk about the pitching numbers that the Chicago Cubs have had up to this point in the season, dating back to last year, the guys like Nico Horner who are so underrated, but are some of the, like, one of the top second basemen in the league, but he's not going to be on the cover of MLB The Show. You know what I mean? It's going to be some other guy. And so it's difficult because, it seems like the division kind of is like, it's poor, but then again, we're winning games against teams like the Dodgers. And I don't know. I don't think it's time for the Cardinals fandom to panic yet. Am I relishing in it? Is it enjoyable? Is it fun? Yeah. But the thing that I said to my coworker is, I was kind of hoping to make it through the school year without having to deal with the "we're back, baby" that you started the show off with tonight. You know what I mean? I was kind of hoping to get to June without having to deal with that. But it's coming. I mean, there's a little bit of a feeling like it's coming, right? Like the division is equaling out. That's what I'm saying. How many games back were you 2 weeks ago?
10.
I mean, so it was double figures games. That feels a lot different than 6, or potentially could have been after tonight, like 4.
Or 5, yeah.
Or 5, yeah. I mean, yeah. So I don't know. But you've been talking about it. We talked about it all through the winter. What are the Cardinals going to do with pitching? And I'm going, the Cubs have great pitching, and you were like, nah. And I'm going, the Cardinals are going to make a move. And I just wonder, like, do you think they've got to, right? I mean, they have to. Jack Flaherty's name dropped around as a trade chip. Have you seen any of that?
I've heard it. Yeah, I mean, he's a free agent next year. I mean, I don't know what he's worth. It would like somebody like Carlson or somebody like one of our prospects. I don't know. Like, taking a chance on Jack Flaherty right now, I feel, for a team. It would make a lot of sense for a rebuilding team to see what they could get from him. But again, then you're going to have to sign him to a long-term contract. So he's a weird trade piece. He's a weird trade piece.
Right.
So I don't know if that makes a ton of sense. I think probably makes a lot more sense for them to keep him. But maybe they package him with Tyler O'Neill and just get rid of the disgruntled Cardinals. Even though Jack Flaherty's not disgruntled, I don't think. I think that media spat was largely overblown, and the whole thing with Wilson Contreras was largely overblown. And Wilson handled that like a champ. And thank you Chicago for Wilson Contreras. But
and the whole thing with Tyler O'Neill was probably overblown, and yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, Tyler O'Neill is still hurt. Well, that's it. It goes back to the log jam. It goes back to you've got to do something, and you would think if there's any team that should do something sooner rather than later to clean up this mess of a roster, not a mess in a way that's bad, in a way that you don't have enough talented players. You do have enough talented players. You're just not sure what to do with them all. And it makes it kind of awkward, and it makes for situations kind of like it makes the Wilson Contreras thing even more strange because you knew you had a logjam there anyway. But it is kind of working itself out with injuries and things of that nature. But that's only a temporary solution, and I feel like that's been a theme of the Cardinals is temporary solutions. And I want a long-term solution, man. Like we only have 2 starting pitchers signed after this year. One of them's Steven Matz. So does that make me feel good about the future? No, it doesn't. And the other pitcher's Miles Michaelis, and I think maybe Dakota Hudson, but I'm not sure honestly what's going on with him. But it just goes to show, I guess Libertor too. We have Libertor, so if you want to count Libertor as number 3, you would think like with all of that I just explained, like it just makes too much sense for them to go out and get somebody. Like I'm looking at the standings right now, right? And I'm looking at the American League, and I'm looking at the Cleveland Guardians. Is that what they're called now? The Guardians. And I'm looking at the White Sox. The Guardians, don't they still have this guy named Shane Bieber? Is Shane Bieber pitching well? I have no idea. I honestly have no idea, but he was a stud at one point in time. Somebody like that makes a ton of sense, and I've been pounding the Shane Bieber drum for a long time now. Been a big fan of his. And so why don't you call up one of these teams that aren't doing very well and see, figure out what kind of starting pitching they have.
That would be a great Cardinal move. Shane Bieber's 3-2 on the year. He's got 43 Ks and a 3.20 ERA. He's on my fantasy team. And he's ranked positionally, he's ranked as the 40th best pitcher in the major leagues. Fantasy wise.
Okay.
So, and I know nobody cares about my fantasy team. I know.
No, that's okay.
I'm just saying though.
How many roster spots are on your fantasy team? It's like all these guys are on your fantasy team.
I'm just really smart. I'm leading my league right now. Just put it that way.
All right. Well, that's good. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think he would be, if the Cardinals traded for Shane Bieber, he would be their best pitcher.
You think so? Without question. A 3-2 pitcher would be the Cardinals' best pitcher.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, he's not playing on a great team.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a better record than the Cardinals do.
No, I mean, I guess maybe he is playing on a great team, and it's okay that you can go 3-2.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's Flaherty? What's Flaherty's record?
Oh, I don't know. Hold on.
Steele's 6-1.
Here, let me bring it up. A Flaherty. Oh, Flaherty. I mean, again, he had his best start that he's had in a long time last night, and don't get me wrong, that's fantastic.
Right.
But you wonder if he can keep this up,
Yeah.
I hope so. I am. Hold on. I am struggling to bring up the.
What I'm wondering is and for you guys it's starting pitching, right? But as and hey, Tate, how are you? Hopefully you're still watching here. But, as Tate said here about the Cubs cold streak, relief pitchers, no question. Those are the two words that explain the Cubs cold streak. Now, that being said by him, I have to point back to that Astros game because, I said a little earlier in the show that we all know that Leiter Jr. is our guy, right? He's our closer. And the thing about that tough Astros loss was that that's who Rossi brought in to close it out. And guess who gave up the runs? Guess who gave up the hits that led to the Astros comeback? So for the Cubs, it's a little different situation and one that we're not familiar with over the last couple of years. Our bullpen's been strong, right? I mean, we've traded away some bullpen pieces to get some of our younger guys here. We've done a little bit of that. We've had these reclamation projects that have turned into good finds and then traded them away. And so now we've got these reclamation projects that, but usually it takes a little bit of the season to get those guys working like they need to be too. That's the other piece that historically over the last couple of years with the Cubs, that's been the equation, I guess, for the Cubs.
Yeah, no, you're right. And then, they traded away Kimbrel. That was one of your reclamation projects, was Kimbrel.
Yeah.
Who was the left-hander too? Robertson?
Yeah.
Traded away. So yeah, you guys have done that, and that's honestly probably what's led to your resurgence of your prospects in your minor league system. You've been able to add some prospects. And so it's almost like somebody was trying to tell you, Mr. Jones, before the season started that, the Cubs, they're going to be better, but they're probably another year or two away. They're going to, if they need to build this thing the right way, they're doing the right things. And don't be surprised if at the trade deadline, Cody Bellinger's on the block.
Yeah, no, that would not surprise me. I mean, no, I agree with that assessment. I mean, I think the contract that he's got right now. Now, I mean, I'd love to see Cody Bellinger extended. Cody Bellinger, Dansby Swanson, Nico Horner, all that sounds really good. That sounds really good. And so if we can hold on to him, that'd be great. Marcus Stroman is saying, I'd love to finish my career in Chicago. So it'd be nice if we could keep some of those guys around to play with some of these guys that are going to be coming up, the Pete Crow Armstrongs of the world. I feel like I mention him far too often, but, and Christopher Morel as he continues to grow, because that kid's got nothing but an upward trajectory right now, as far as I'm concerned. So Brennan Davis, we can go down all those lists of the prospects, Casey Owens, having those guys come up and play with some of these guys would only strengthen the prospect base. In my opinion, having Cody Bellinger as a mentor to Pete Crow Armstrong, that sounds delicious. He could learn a lot from a former MVP and all of that. So I don't know. Time will tell.
I'm looking at the Cubs roster right now, and I'm kind of assessing it. Their depth chart on Fangraph. Fangraph's probably the best baseball website there is on planet Earth. But I'm looking at it, and the way the Cubs are built, I think, is really interesting because you build your team, I think, in pretty much all sports fundamentally from the inside out. In baseball, that's catcher, middle infield, center field. And I see Jan Gomes. I think he's Tucker Barnhart and Jan Gomes are basically splitting catching duties. Jan Gomes is playing 52% of the time. And Barnhart's playing 40% of the time with the Maya mixed in there. Bellinger, 73% of the time he's in center field. And then you have Swanson and Horner, who are basically the staples in the middle infield. And then you got Suzuki, who I think you guys signed to a reasonable deal.
Yeah.
And then Happ, who you recently extended. So your starting outfield, I think, is probably settled. Now what you need to figure out is, what do you have in Matt Mervis? Is Patrick Wisdom the third baseman, or is that Christopher Morel? What are you going to do with Christopher Morel, right? If Horner's at second and Swanson's at shortstop, is he going to be the third baseman, or is Patrick Wisdom going to be a thing? I don't know, but you're seeing the pieces of the puzzle come together, and you're building it the right way. You've extended the middle infield, and that possibly is why, although I think the center field spot, they're hoping that's Pete Crow Armstrong's or some other prospect that you can trade Cody Bellinger for potentially. That might make sense, honestly. If you just want to say, all right, we have our center fielder, we feel good about him, it's Cody Bellinger, then look at what you have. You have your second baseman, your shortstop, your center fielder, and if Yan Gomes is your catcher, then you're building it from the inside out. And your starting pitching looks to be like you have some pieces there as well, in Stroman, Talion, Steele. I mean, heck, even Drew Smiley, Hayden Wisniewski. Didn't you guys send down Wisniewski? Has he been? I haven't been paying attention to Wisniewski. Has he been pitching?
He was optioned on Thursday, I think. Yeah, Thursday he was optioned.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if your worst problem, aside from figuring out some of these positional players, is your bullpen, I think you're in a pretty good spot. But again, this is a team that is, you need to develop some prospects. You need to keep building it the right way, and you're doing it, and you're just not quite there yet. You're not at the level of a Milwaukee or, even a St. Louis, even though your pitching statistically, starting pitching is better. But that's about it. That's about it.
Bellinger, by the way, today was placed on the 10-day IL.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah, he jumped, had a home run saving leap at the wall and came down, and I think he hyperextended his knee slightly or something. He came down just kind of awkward, and so he was placed on the 10-day IL when Horner came back from the 10-day IL. So,
okay,
yeah,
gotcha. Now, speaking of how the Cardinals are constructed, I think this is interesting, and anybody can go check this out. It's on the fan graphs, the depth charts, right? The Cardinals, you look at their outfield percentages, and it's all over the place because the Cardinals have too many outfielders. I mean, Dylan Carlson, I know he's been hurt, but 35% of the time he's been playing in center. Newt Barr, 32%. O'Neill, 27%. Then you have Mercado and Walker mixed in there. And then same thing with the corner outfield. Like, O'Neill's been playing mostly in left field at 35%, but you've got Newt Barr there, Walker, Donovan can play there. Same deal. Like, nobody's played over, 31%. Jordan Walker's actually played the most games in right field for the Cardinals, which is kind of crazy to think about considering he's not even on the major league roster anymore. But the Cardinals are set at the core, right? They're set at the corners rather, first and third, Contreras, and then basically every other position for the
maybe.
Well,
but it depends on which ways the wind's blowing.
Oh Lord, don't get me started. Don't get me started on that. But Contreras at catcher, 52% of the. He still played the most games there out of anybody. So, the Cardinals just need to figure out their outfield, and I would assume that Lars has to be a starter. Lars has to be a starter in their outfield. You got to find a spot for Brendan Donovan, and you got to find a spot for Nolan Gorman, and it's either Tommy Edman or Paul DeYoung at shortstop. And right now, Paul DeYoung, we could talk about Paul DeYoung and his resurgence. He's hitting I'm looking at the wrong stat. He's hitting 282 with a WRC plus of 151 and wins above replacement at almost 1, which is about the same as Nolan Arenado, Wilson Contreras, and Lars Nootbaar, who are all hovering around 1 wins above replacement, 1.1, 1.2. Paul DeJong's been that good. It's crazy to think about that. So until he stops, and of course it's Paul DeJong. So what do? I guess you still have to keep playing him consistently, and that's what the Cardinals are doing at shortstop. Paul DeJong is playing just about as much as Tommy Edman, but then again, now that makes it even stranger of a situation because you thought probably Tommy Edman would be the starting shortstop. So now you have to find a spot for DeJong and now of course Gorman's got to play. So Ollie Marmol has got to have his board wherever he constructs his lineup. Wherever he is picking, it's got to be like he's trying to track a serial killer, figuring this lineup out every day. Like, here's if I put Gorman over here and then I put DeJong over there, how does that affect? Oh, that means I got to find a spot for Donovan. But if I hit Donovan over here, and then like, can you imagine trying to figure this out? I mean, this is why the Cardinals need to make a trade.
Well, but isn't that what it's about? I mean, isn't that what that board is about? Is who are we going to trade? Is it going to be DeJong or Edman? Is it going to be Nootbaar, O'Neill, or because you've got logjam. It's not like the Cubs right now. The Cubs know what they have in the minor leagues in their prospects, and it's not like those guys are, because you've got a Cody Bellinger up there. Pete Crow Armstrong can develop for a few years, but with the guys that the Cardinals have, they're gonna have to get rid of some of those guys for starting pitching. They have to, right? I mean, I know you're wondering because you're like, everybody's been wondering that for a year, right?
For 3 years.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, what are we going to do for this next season? Because it has to have felt for Cardinals fans like, okay, this is going to be the year that they're finally going to make some of these decisions, and we're going to make a move, and we're going to get it figured out. And here you are, last in the division, and everybody's shaking all the Cardinals fans are going, I don't know. Mo's got to go, because, well, it may happen. But here's good news for you, Seth. Think about this for a minute. The Yankees made a trade today. Did you know that?
I did not.
Does that seem a little surprising to you?
Kind of. Is it a big trade?
Well, I mean, they acquired Greg Allen from the Red Sox.
So no, it's not a. But trades are it's possible.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying,
is it? Did Mo Zalak know that he could make a trade not like 3 minutes before the end of the trade deadline? It's possible. Like, you have all this other time from the start, from when the league year begins to the trade deadline to negotiate trades. Like, this is possible.
Right.
So maybe somebody needed to tell him that, because the last 2 years, I remember the trade deadline day, I'm like, are we going to do anything? Are we going to do anything? Sure sounds like we need starting pitching. Same old thing every year. This is bizarro world where we repeat the same mistakes over and over and over. It's like Groundhog Day. Same thing, different same song, different bird channel, baby. This is weird. It's weird. I don't understand him. I don't know if it's Bill DeWitt who doesn't want to trade any of these guys because they all go to church together. I don't know. But it's the weirdest, best team I've ever seen, because it's a good team. Like, they have so much talent, especially at the positions, like we keep saying. But you look at the percentage of people that have played these positions, it's comical. Like, that nobody's played. Jordan Walker's played the most in right field. He's not even on the team anymore. He's in AAA. Like,
Can I add, get off my lawn?
What are we doing?
Kids.
Like Tyler O'Neill is injured. He's hurt. 35% in left field. Nobody's over 35% at any outfield position. You know, like there's no stability to any of this. And I don't know if that's a big deal or not for these guys. But I would say, I mean, going forward, you know, obviously Goldschmidt, Arenado, Contreras are going to be in the lineup. So you have those three pillars. I mean, when Carlson comes back, he's the center fielder, I would assume, although he's not hitting the ball like we would want him to hit the ball. But that's fine. I mean, his defense is good. So that means Lars Nootbaar's got to play in the outfield. And then I guess if you want Donovan, DeYoung, Gorman to play, you would need to DH Gorman, play Edmund at second, play DeYoung at shortstop, and play Donovan in the outfield. And then you've made it work. But then that still leaves the awkwardness with Tyler O'Neill and Jordan Walker and Juan Yepez and God knows who else is down there that could, I mean, you know what I mean? I forgot about Alec Burleson. This is all these guys, right? So I don't know, man. It's so bizarre. So the long-winded answer to your question
Did I have a question?
When you look at the Cardinals roster and you analyze it every which way, Oli Marmol has got to be like a detective trying to solve his biggest crime that he's ever tried to solve, trying to figure out this lineup every day because you have so many guys, so many talented players. It's becoming a problem, and I'm sure that he's lightly knocking on John Mozeliak's door. Hey John. Hey, we kind of have a problem with our roster, man. Like, we got too many players and not enough spots, man. Can we maybe make a deal? Can we sure Shane Bieber looks pretty good over there in Cleveland.
Hey,
I don't know, man.
By the way, mark your calendar, Seth, because on May 27th, Jack Flaherty will go up against Shane Bieber at Cleveland. So,
which player's pitching for which team?
Yeah, well, that's the projected starters for the Cardinals versus the Guardians on May 27th, according to Fangraphs. So, yeah,
I'll have to tune in for that one because, like I said,
are there other guys like Graham Ashcraft or Tanner Beebe that you might be interested in? I mean, how about Clayton Kershaw? I mean, Flaherty's going to go up against him on Sunday.
Yeah, I doubt it just because the Dodgers are in contention.
Syndergaard.
Same deal. I mean, they signed him.
I'm just saying, would you take those guys? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how they do.
I mean, it's almost like the Cardinals need to make like a 2-for-1 deal, you know? Like, if there's anybody out there looking for more depth, that sounds like a perfect trade. I don't know who that is, but that would be like a perfect trade partner for the Cardinals because the Cardinals, and I know you never want to say we have too much depth because the minute you say that, you don't have enough depth. But the Cardinals have too much depth right now, and I think the stats prove that out. It's a good problem to have, but it's just when your starting pitching is 22nd and it's still number 20. I know they've been pitching better, but they're number 22nd in team ERA in Major League Baseball. And since 2020, they've been in the bottom half in team ERA in all of baseball because they don't have an ace and they need an ace. So,
Seth, I'm just going to say it. The Cardinals keep your pitchers. The Cardinals pitching is just what we Cub fans want. You keep the guys that you've got in your rotation because they are mediocre.
I'm holding out hope potentially for Matthew Liberatore. He looked really good, but again, that's one start. Again, I think Wainwright's going to be more consistent. He's going to be he might be the most consistent. Him and Michaelis, they might not strike out a ton of people.
Yeah, but consistently what though?
Consistently 5 or 6 innings and 2 to 3 runs given up. That's about what you need to keep yourself in ball games. But again, that's not conducive to postseason baseball.
Yeah.
When you're gonna have to go up against, Max Scherzer potentially, or the Philadelphia guys, or the guys, the Spencer Strider, or God knows who else is out there. The guy the Dodgers have, right? I mean, potentially Kershaw. For some reason, I can't. Who is the Dodgers ace? I can't think of it right now. Do you know offhand?
Not right off the top of my. I mean, I would immediately either go to Syndergaard or Kershaw, but
I don't think it's Syndergaard. The guy who pitched today had a good ERA, but Goslin or something. But anyway, it's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I don't know who their ace is considered. They got so many good pitchers. I mean, think about all those names you just mentioned, right?
Yeah, Kershaw is pitching well this year. He's ERA about 2.52, 63 Ks. I mean, 11 walks. Unbelievable stats.
You would have to think that he'd be their ace, right?
I would assume so, but I don't. I just follow the Cardinals, man. I don't really follow all of baseball.
Well, I can tell you which ones of those guys are on my fantasy team.
Yeah,
because I know you like to know about that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But anyway, is it? Hold on here. I've got it pulled up. These stats. Is it May? May's stats look good. He started 9 games for him.
You talking about the Dodgers?
Yeah.
You're talking about you're trying to figure out who their ace is?
Yeah, I think it's Kershaw. It's gotta be
Kershaw. Yeah.
Anyway.
So hey, that same date that I told you to mark your calendar for, we're marking our calendars too. For the return of the professor.
Oh, okay.
Kyle Hendricks will return on the same day that Bieber and Flaherty are going up against each other. Kyle Hendricks is projected to go up against Brandon Williamson in Cincinnati. So going to be excited about that because Wesneski getting, option to Iowa. I'm assuming Iowa. I don't have that right in front of me, but let's see. Option to the minors. Yeah. So, but that'll I guess make room for Kyle Hendricks to come back, and so because we have a day off in there, that's what makes that possible, right? I think we have a day off on the 22nd on Monday, so.
All right.
So the rotation can kind of reset itself and the professor can come back. We're ready for the return of the professor. Wesneski was not bad. He wasn't horrible. He had a couple of bad outings, but he's young, he's young. So, you're right about that. But we had to take time, he had to take time getting back. He had some injury. Tate said that's way overdue. But we want to make sure Hendricks can go and do what Cub pitchers do, and that's have quality starts. Something that St. Louis is just not familiar with.
Yeah, that's why. So here's a stat for you. The Boston Red Sox are 8 games out, and they are in last place in the American League East. If they were in the NL Central, they'd be tied for first.
Wow. Yeah, that speaks to the division.
Yep. So,
but it also speaks to competition, because one thing that I want to make sure that we talk about next week on the show, and hopefully we'll do a show on Friday next week or Saturday. I don't. I think I've got tickets to Wrigley Saturday, Sunday, Monday next week. Um, but the thing that I want to talk about is the balanced schedule, the new
Oh yeah.
schedule in Major League Baseball, because I think it's now is a good time for us because that'll be right before June 1st. It would be a good time for us to take a look at that at next week's show and say, how is that impacting things? As far, who's benefiting from that, who's not benefiting from that. Boston may be the reason that they'd be in, what'd you say, second or first in the division is because of the other teams that they've played outside of their division versus us having to play, for example, the Twins, the Houston Astros, some pretty tough teams right now. The road trip that the Cubs have been on recently, I mean, just right now, it's not an easy road trip. The Philadelphia Phillies. I mean, there's some good teams in that, even though the Phillies probably aren't up there in their division either. They seem to be struggling for some reason, but it'd be interesting to look at that.
Yeah. So, okay, good. I'm not muted. I muted myself for a little bit. But one final thing.
Bless you.
On the Cardinals, thank you. Is this? I mean, like I said, we're still. I mean, as much as exciting as this is, I think this team is going to be a streaky team because you have so many streaky players. In Nolan Arenado, love him, but he can get really, really hot and he can get really, really cold. We've seen both this year. Contreras, I think, is similar. Gorman is going to be similar. A lot of the younger bats on this team are going to be like that. So when you rely so much offensively on these guys, and you saw it tonight, I mean, tip your cap to the Dodgers defense. I mean, they robbed Goldschmidt of a home run tonight in the 6th inning.
They didn't rob Mookie Betts. Oh no, go ahead.
Oh Lord, but yeah, this is the way this team's going to be. But damn, if this isn't one of the most fun Cardinals teams when it's going right. I mean, this past week has been a lot of fun to watch. They're going to be a lot of fun to watch. They'd be even more fun to watch if they can go out and fill their biggest need. And the crazy thing is, though, is if you gave, I mean, obviously if you gave him truth serum, Mozeliak would say, yes, we've been needing an ace for a long time. I know this. He's not a dummy. But if you talk to them if the media talks to them about it, they pretend like nothing's wrong and that their starting pitching is fine. It's very strange, but the front office needs to capitalize on this. The Cardinals are good. They're going to be a streaky team, like I said, but they need to aggressively pursue a starting pitcher to consolidate some of these roster spots and make rooms for the guys that you believe in. You need to make room for Jordan Walker. If you believe in Jordan Walker, then you got to trade away Tyler O'Neill or Dylan Carlson, and play Nootbaar in center. If you believe in Brendan Donovan, then you need to trade away Paul DeJong. If you believe in, we have a 6-man rotation right now. If you believe in Matthew Liberatore, then maybe you need to trade away Jake Woodford. Maybe you need to trade away Jordan Montgomery because he's been a good starting pitcher for you, but he's a free agent next year. So these are all pieces that are potential trade chips. And easily, I mean, I think, they have players that other teams want, but it's just a matter of, I mean, it's easier said than done. I get it. And I give Mozeliak a lot of grief on this show, but it's frustrating when this is the last piece of the puzzle, it feels like, because if you can get the starting pitching sorted out, that helps out every other aspect of your team. It puts less stress on your hitters, helps out the bullpen, and it's just the most important part of baseball. It's the most important part of any team. So we'll see.
Absolutely.
We'll see if they can get it done. But is it that time of the show, Mike?
Are you ready? Are you ready for it? That's the important piece.
I'm always ready for it.
All right. Let's go ahead and do it.
It's the Dixon Baseball Dictionary segment of the show where Mike pulls out his dictionary.
There it is. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
What? Let's look at page 381 for an oldie but a goodie.
381.
381. Yeah, because this
All right.
I like this. The grand old game.
Ooh.
The
There's a
grand
picture. There's a picture on 382 of a grandstand from Charles City, Iowa.
Oh gosh, there is. Andy Morsund collection. Wonder what that is there. Huh.
That's interesting.
It is.
It doesn't really give any details. Maybe if we look, it doesn't. I mean, this is great radio.
Yeah, right. So yeah, the grand old game, the game of baseball, and first used. I guess. Look who that was first used by. Interesting, isn't it?
The grand old game.
Yeah, grand old game, page 381. Again, great radio here. Honus Wagner.
Okay.
Baseball Grins, 1933, page 29. The game of baseball. He said, the lively ball naturally has changed the hitting, but it's still baseball. A grand old game. Baseball's a grand old game still today, even with the Manfred Man and the bigger bases and the pitch clock and all of that. It's still a grand old game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard to mess up baseball, but in Mike Jones, I will say, and not to get you going on this because you could talk about this for another 40 minutes. I might be in certain now when I'm at the ballpark, I completely agree. I want to be there as long as possible.
Yes, sir.
But it does make the evenings watching the game a little bit more like I don't have to stay up until 11 o'clock watching a baseball game. If I have to go to bed and get my beauty sleep, you know.
I have always said, Seth, that it's great for television. Mm-hmm. It's great for television. The pitch clock is great for television. I just wish I could stay at the ballpark longer. You know, if you're going to end the game sooner, then let us hang out. Let us hang out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's come up with other fun stuff to do for the people that want to stay. You know, don't kick us out of there. That's all.
Yeah, maybe have a party. You could just go to Wrigleyville and have a party. And
yeah, we could still do that. You could go ride the bull at what's that place?
Yeah. What was it?
Ballpark Village. Ballpark Village.
Ballpark Village. PBR. Yeah.
PBR, yeah.
The grandstand, which we were referring to earlier.
Yeah,
wow, this is so long. Yeah, it's the location of the main seating area at a ballpark. Traditionally behind the box seats. The grandstand is usually covered and contains reserved seats, which are priced between the cheap bleachers and the expensive box seats. See also stands. Its first use was in 1870. The immense audience disposed, for the most part, on the seats of the grandstand. Lakeside Monthly. David Schulman. It doesn't give a. Oh, I guess it said 1870, didn't it?
Yeah, but I want to know. I want to know why you alluded to this picture. Why did this picture end up in the dictionary? Like, without any context or anything. Like, doesn't mention what field it is. Just says grandstand. Charles City, Iowa. That's just odd to me.
I don't know. We're gonna have to get. Oh, I have some news for you.
Yes. Next week, right?
Next week. We might have to figure it out with Matty Kiwoom because I told him Saturday in the morning, but we're gonna have to figure out like what's gonna work for you. But anyway, we'll figure that out if we can't do it next weekend with him. But we are gonna have a guest, and we're gonna have to get Paul Dixon on the show.
We are
to figure out why the picture of Charles City, Iowa, out of all places. I'm from Iowa, and I have no idea where Charles City is? Do you have any idea where Charles City is?
Yeah, I know where it is. It's right about here.
Man, that's perfect. A perfect description for our podcast listeners.
Central Iowa, South Central Iowa. And the other person that we're going to get on the show here, but we're going to wait until winter. I need to get back in touch with him because he's agreed to be on the show. But W.M. Akers, the inventor of Deadball, we're going to get him on here too. Hey, Seth, can I just make a plug for as we're probably wrapping this thing up here? I would imagine we got some things to do. I got a road trip tomorrow and things like that. But I want to make a plug for the Beat the Streak thing one more time because I think I might have it down here. There's your code if you want to join our Beat the Streak, although it's ... because it's just, anyway, check it out and go to the Play app. We're up to 80 users, group members on the Long Live Baseball Beat the Streak group. But here's the big news. With Mookie Betts' home run tonight against the St. Louis Cardinals, I achieved my 20-game streak badge on the Beat the Streak deal. And out of 95,000 plus players of the game, I am now number 116. I have the 116th best streak out of 95,000 streakers. I am going streaking. I'm going streaking, baby.
We're going to have to follow this. I mean, if you're not tuning in to Mike's daily analysis of Beat the Streak, he does it every day on this show. I know because I have to post the videos. And sometimes I think he's a robot because I think that Mike Jones is not a human being. Because he's able to do this. He's able to do two things at once. He's able to host a podcast. He's able to go videotape himself. I think he got himself a robot that looks exactly like Mike Jones. I hope that's what happened. I hope the robot didn't kill your entire family. And now it's just I'm talking to Mike Jones now. Or I'm talking to robot Mike Jones. I have my suspicions. But that nevertheless, Mike Jones is posting daily content for you on this channel. Go watch it. He's up to 20. He's up to 20, a 20-game streak. So if you've been following along with Mike Jones, you should have a 20-game streak. If you don't have a 20-game streak, well then you got to go watch Mike Jones so you can go get a 20-game streak. We're not doing rocket surgery here, people. It's not that hard. Go watch the video and click the subscribe button. That's all you have to do to get more content. It's a daily thing.
It's like a 2-minute show.
He's losing friends every day because he's got to do this thing. He's like, oh, the park looks nice, but no, I have to go make another video because Seth is, a demanding co-host.
It's because my editor is constantly up, down, something. One saying, give me more content. And so I'm like, okay, already. Gee.
You're on. Yeah, exactly. I robot Mike Jones I've got him programmed well. But
Tate Jones, my son, is in second in the group, but he's probably in single figures.
Well, and Seth Diewold can't get a streak going to save his life. Who did I have from Pittsburgh today? I thought Pittsburgh's put up 13 runs, and this guy couldn't get a hit. I don't even know, but I thought the matchup was good, but obviously I was wrong. Anyway,
you know what? I was wrong, by the way. Tate actually is in double figures. He took Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who went 1 for 4 in Baltimore, and Luis Arez, who went 3 for 4 in San Francisco, after going 0 for 4 yesterday and knocking out the leader, like the overall leader.
I just got the notification on my phone. This is the saddest notification. Your streak ended. No, Nolan Arenado got a hit, but Dominic Fletcher did not.
0 for 3.
Dominic Fletcher. Thanks for nothing.
Listen, you will rue the day, or rue some of, is that the right? You'll rue some players for what they do to you in this game. Seriously, it had today ended differently. Mookie Betts would have been, I'm not going to say it. That might sound a little too strong, but Mookie was on the verge of not having my admiration anymore. That was a good way to say it. Listen, he'd have been dead to me. I'm just going to I mean, if Mookie had ended my streak at 19, I mean, my goodness gracious. I can't tell you. Think about this, though. You got to get to 56. Mm-hmm. If you can beat 56 and you can double down every day, man, we've talked about this, but I'm not even halfway there. And I'm nervous, about it.
That's the show.
Yeah. And Seth's at 0. Are you at 0?
Yeah, because of Dominic Fletcher.
Who's Dominic Fletcher, by the way?
I have no idea. I thought I would wild card. I would pull out the wild card.
Well, listen, here's the thing. I mean, you do have to. I realize that it's not rocket surgery, as you said before. It's not. I know it's not rocket surgery.
Yeah.
But you do have to. It would be good for you, even my editor, so to speak, the guy who's up and down, doing the colonoscopy on me to get more content out there, to actually watch the things that he's posting, because I've been talking trash about you for about 4 or 5 episodes, and I haven't gotten a single text from you, saying anything about that. So you're obviously not editing. You're just kind of regurgitating. You're my regurgitator. That's what you are.
I just download the videos and post them, baby.
But if you watch it, you could be on a long streak like me.
I know.
Streaking together.
Clearly, I'm an idiot. Why wouldn't I want to go streaking with Mike Jones?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't?
We pull out our dictionaries every day. Like every week we do that. Why wouldn't I want to go streaking?
Yes. So you should watch the show, because you'll get good, high quality, top advice about who some of the batters are. Even though I have to say I reserve the right to change my picks at any time, which I've done several times in the past week, because Byron Buxton was I'm not. This is no secret. I only pick leadoff hitters who are on the road. Only exclusively. I don't take anybody else.
Wow.
Mookie Betts was a leadoff hitter on the road today. The only reason my streak continued today was because he had his 5th at bat. It wasn't an at bat because he got walked, but he had 5 plate appearances. Right? So, and I don't make a secret of that. But if you follow some of that, I think you have to follow that kind of stuff. Byron Buxton, I never know if I'm saying his name right. For the Twins,
I think you are.
I said earlier, was leading off when I picked him this morning, and then at lunch, I always check at lunch. Okay, I'm going to take a look to see where they're at in the lineup, and Buxton had been dropped down to 3rd. Now I don't know if he got a hit today or not, but there is a little bit of rocket surgery involved in this. Is all I'm saying. You know what I mean? I mean, I consult Elon Musk. Although he may not be the best rocket surgeon ever, I do, I have
Apparently not. Apparently not. He can build a Tesla, though.
Okay.
And and he can freak out my whole entire family with his whatever Stargate network.
Oh yeah, right.
They thought legitimately. I think my family thought that was aliens from outer space when that was coming over.
Have you been out there at it?
Yes.
No, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to do it for us. Thank you for watching the show. Please hit the like and subscribe button and watch the channel. Mike's got you covered with MLB The Streak. He gives you his tips, suggestions, and he's on a 20-game streak, so go follow along with that. Join our Beat the Streak group. You can find that. I'll put the link in this description as soon as we're off the air, and it'll be there. I think it even might be there now. But that's all I got. I think we've beat the St. Louis drum enough of they need starting pitching. Everybody's aware of that now. If you weren't aware of it, you are now. And apparently, we'll see if the Cardinals, what they do with Wilson Contreras this week. They might put him in the outfield again. They might, who knows? Like, he might be a rover. They might send him down to the AAA to get more learning under his belt. I mean, leave it in the comments. What are the Cardinals going to do with Wilson Contreras this week? Is he going to stay the catcher? Is he going to be the DH? Is he going to be first base? And they'll move Paul Goldschmidt to the outfield. What are the Cardinals going to do this week? Because I have no idea. I do know that they're probably not going to trade for a pitcher, because they never do that until about 3 minutes left in the trade deadline. And I promise that's my last rant of the evening.
We did get an interesting comment about your Wilson Contreras. What are they going to do with him? From
our channel. So it's like somebody was logged into our channel.
I don't know who might have done that. All right. Hey, it's baseball. It's fun. It's America's game. It's the grand old game. Looking forward to seeing all of you next week with our special guest,
Matty Kiwoom.
There you go. And is he a starting pitcher?
I don't know, but if he has an ERA under 5, he could start for the Cardinals.
Let's go, Cubbies.
Let's go, Cardinals. And long live baseball.
Long live baseball.
Thank you.
Hey, long live baseball,
Long
baby.
live baseball. Let's go.
Oh,
Long live baseball.
thank you.
You got it.
Right now.
Long live baseball.